Hey guys, Ollie here. I'm a graphic designer from South London, and today I'll be taking you through my logo design process and how to turn that logo into an actual brand. Okay, so the first thing I do after taking in a brief and mood boarding is brainstorming about 15 ideas that I could use to make a logo that would be the face of a brand. Now, all these logos don't need to be drastically different. They just have to have little changes that kind of set the mood, set the tone of the logo, which will basically help me push that to the brand. Now, as you can see on the screen, I have different ideas, most quite similar, especially on the left side, of just different layouts, different typography, different shapes, different formats. Anyway, so as you can see on the top left logo, which is not the one I actually selected, but what I did, I had the Y going into the top of the eye with slightly widened and kind of made it look, a bit more natural, maybe like a light potentially. Or you see that light out of Pixar? That kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Second one I did, I rotated one of the O's just to give it a bit of motion, and also took out the widening before reaching the top of the eye, which is fine. Didn't quite work in my opinion. But the next one I did was the same thing, but I just rotated all the O's just to kind of show it's all in motion, all in sync, which kind of makes more sense to me because dances are normally in sync and normally quite synchronized. So that's kind of what I did with that. And on the second page, it's the same one as that. Just instead of the full eye, I changed the top of the eye to a circle. Um, it was just an experiment. I don't think it worked, but I don't think it looked too bad either. Then I switched up the font to maybe something a bit more modern, a bit more flowery, I guess, all curved. What I did with the M, I changed it to pink, and that would be the only letter that's got color. I kind of gave that to give the word motion a bit of energy, because I feel like that's important when dancing. And then what I did after that is I joined the H to the top of the first I. It didn't quite work. It didn't kind of have the effect that I wanted it to have. I think that's more for fashion and food brands, that technique, but it just didn't work in my opinion. And then I started to play around a bit of typography, so I looked at the H and kind of making a logo mark with the M. It didn't really work. It didn't kind of have that high end effect that I was going for, because this brand was an open dance concept, so it could be whatever it wanted to be, but I wanted more of a high end and organized dance group, and didn't quite work. Then under that, I did a harmony with the rotated O. Again, didn't work. And I just think the O was too big, and it just took up too much of the logo. And then yeah, I experimented with more text, but it just didn't work. It just seemed a bit corporate, the ITC text. It just didn't quite work. So after that, it's about selecting a logo. So I selected the third logo I designed with all the O's rotated and the non-widened bottom of the Y to the top of the I. I just think this work kind of flowed a bit more, and it just worked in the idea that it was going to be a high-end font, as with the serif, which is quite important as it's more formal, it's more organized, and generally just gives a better experience to the user. So that's what I went with. So the next thing is choosing a color palette. I chose one of Color Hunt. It was more pinks, browns, and neutral colors, which is something I think I see in the industry a lot more. In more kind of younger dance groups, you see, bright pinks, bright blues, but with more mature dance groups, I found that more neutral tones was the way to go. So that's why I chose that kind of color palette. If you want some more color palettes, this is unsponsored, but Color Hunt is honestly the one I recommend. I've made videos about it on my Instagram. It's honestly amazing. Gives you so many different options, so many different choices, and it's just so much easier to copy in, the hex code from that, then scroll through and try and find a specific one in the top right of your photo. The final part of the design process for the logo is making a logo mark. So what I chose to have is a silhouette which is of a dancer in a similar position to what the photography I was going to be using was. So that's kind of the inspiration for that, and I've been working with silhouettes recently, so that's something I really wanted to take into account. I chose to have the text on a path just because I felt like it kind of gave it a more flowing and more repetitive motion, kind of repeating like practice and in training, just kind of how you kind of repeat the same moves just to make sure that it's going to be perfect. So that's why I chose a path logo instead of straight text under the silhouette. Okay, so that was my graphic design process for a logo. Now, if you enjoyed it or this gave you a bit of an insight to what making a logo is actually like, make sure to go subscribe and like this video and check out my other content. I actually post daily on Instagram, so if you want to go see daily content, go see that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.